Hey guys, I am freaking pumped, because you know what I get like when you know that we are bringing the goddamn truth bombs, the business bombs that you might go, what? But I was told that on Facebook. What? I bought this course. What? It's okay. You're here now. You're home. We're not going to BS you. So the people that I bring on are thebomb.com. They are showstoppers. They are like thinkers out of the box, and they are people that are here to tell you the truth about what it takes to build your kick-ass biz. So without further ado, I am going to introduce the girl that popped my cherry pop, when it came to copywriting. Yes, I said it. It's okay. Say what you feel. Biz tip number one.
Absolutely.
Own it. So this is my first copywriter. She is the woman who truly brought me into my voice, my truth, and helped me to like stop saying in my mind, should I say this? What are people going to think? All the questions. And she was like, girl, what do you want to really say? Say it. What do you want to really say? So this is Hillary Weiss. And Hillary, most importantly, is known as, it's like copywriting going even deeper. It's the message. It's your brand. It's who you want to be known for. And so she is a strategist in all the above. And so let me actually let her speak. Hillary?
Hi, Rach. Oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be here. I can't even begin to tell you. Hey, everybody watching at home, as that incredible introduction, my name is Hillary Weiss. I'm a messaging strategist, copywriter, brand voice developer, and all-around creative concept generator.
And badass woman. I mean, we're just going to add that.
Thank you. And it's an absolute pleasure to do the work I do. And some of you may not know that Rachel and I worked together back in, was it 2014? I think 2013? It's a while.
2013. I swear even at the end of 2012 when I was like, had written my about me 20 times and it was like lengthy. I finally was like, I need help. And then I found you. And so it's been a long time. And we've worked website copy, sales pages, landing pages, emails. I mean, you name it, I think we've done it.
And what a journey it's been. Oh my God. We've been through, and it's been such a pleasure watching you shine, and so great to see you finally doing this, stepping into your role as the pro. I mean, you were born to have a show, let's be real. But I'm really, really excited to be talking to you guys because Rachel and I were having this conversation actually a little earlier around how much confusion there is around what makes good copy, what makes a good brand voice, and what makes you recognizable as a brand. And there's just really so much information out there, and there's so much misinformation out there. It's really difficult to sift through all of it. That's probably why you ended up rewriting your about page 20 times, right?
Well, and this is the part that I think, like, even because I know this could be like a 24-hour podcast where like you and I could just be like, okay, I'm gonna sleep, coffee, get on it, because it is so expansive. And that's why I really I thought about, okay, no matter whether you're new in the health and wellness branding, which you've worked with a lot of different brands, and you know that's a different brand than kind of some other brands.
Yeah.
But still what always has to be there is like your story. And when I think back to what you taught me and what I see so many coaches missing is first, it's just like they doubt that they even have a story. And so can you even kind of talk about like stop collaborate and listen. Yes, Vanilla Ice and a little love, a little shout out.
Going there.
Going back to the old school. But like, what is that kind of step one before? And I see people make this mistake. They hire a copywriter. They don't even have a vision. They don't even have a voice. They don't know what they stand for. And then they're like, I now have to rewrite this all over again because this doesn't even, and the words always reflect me. So like talk about, even define actually first, let's even like roll this shit back. What is brand? Because I feel like people think it's just like the branding colors.
Oh yeah.
like hit us on brand.
It is, and this is, I got to steal this from a former client of mine, Jennifer Kam, who says, your business is what you do. Your brand is what makes you different from everybody else in the world doing exactly what it is you do. And the awesome part about branding is that there's nobody, having a personal brand rather, is that there's nobody out there with your exact experience, with your exact expertise, with your exact skills, gifts, and talents. And because of that, every single business owner is a brand waiting to be born. There are as many original brands, voices, and stories as there are entrepreneurs building businesses. So that's the good news. The bad news is that it's hard sometimes to learn to trust the voice within, to trust your own point of view and perspective in order to start to create that brand from that really empowered place, that really unique place. And if I may be so bold, actually, Rachel, because I tell your story a lot. We did a whole episode, actually, you'll appreciate this. It's coming out probably next week about JP Sears on Ham Yacht. And we were talking about the wellness industry and why JP Sears stuff works so well. If you're not familiar, guys, oh
my God. You will pee your pants. You literally will pee your pants when you're watching them.
He's found an incredible way to both build a wellness brand while also pointing out this sort of silliness, repetition, and the most cliche parts of the wellness industry. And it's in a way that both people outside of the industry and within the industry can appreciate. It's genius. But anyway, what was really, and I told our story. So if you're going to the podcast and go to the episode, you can fast forward through that part because you've already heard it. So you and I got together all those years ago. And I remember going to your site, and it was a wellness professional site. Like, it was a health coach site. Yeah. You were there with the green smoothie, and you were like standing in the grass and like talking about living your best life. They were fun. They were fun.
Pain's coming out. I gotta smudge myself. Hold on. Okay, smudge. Karmic, like, woo, shamanic. Gotta throw that shit back.
Gotta smudge. Keep that away. But so I remember looking at the site and then had the conversations that I had with you, like even via email. You were like, I think you were just like, yo, you're a bad bitch, like badass bitch. We need to work together. And I was like, oh, sweet. And then I went to your site and it was like, are you ready to reduce inflammation? Like, I was like,
not that a green smoothie is bad, but what you're trying to say is I followed the pack.
Exactly.
And yet that wasn't my voice. That wasn't who, like, somebody described me the other day. He was like, when you talk, you just shoot bullets through the heart. Yeah. You're like, this is what it is. Yeah. This is what it's going to be. And I was like, yeah, that's not how I owned it in the beginning. So anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember we got on our first call and you were like, you know, Philly girl, black hair, black nails, black leather jacket, just like badass. And I remember talking to you and being like, so you got to be honest, Rach, not a lot of this is coming through on your current website. Like, why is that? And I remember you told me, because I say like too much because people aren't going to think I'm professional if I swear. If I really say what I want to say, people aren't going to want to work with me. And I was like, well, what do you want to say? And you sort of thought about it for a second. You were like,
I remember that.
I want to tell people to burn the fucking diet books.
I just told this. I swear to God, we're in synchronicity because I just told this story. And I was like, if you can't say it, and I talked about saying that I wanted to say, I want you to burn the diet books. I want you to stop. There's no one fix. There's no one protocol. Like, stop the insanity. And you were like, why don't you say that? And I was like, what would people think? You're like, but what would people think if you don't say it? Like, what if you came out and you really changed the game of what a health coach can say? And you stand as a thought-provoking leader and I'm not just saying not just as a health coach, but I think that's in any industry. Don't just be a social media manager. Like, say what you see is wrong. Set the stage for something different with conviction.
Absolutely. And I think, but I also have to say, I will take it back to bless previous forms of you. And I think every single business owner goes through this because it feels like such a huge risk to come out there and say what you really think, to sort of deviate from the professional norms of a specific industry and the sort of things that your customers have learned to know and trust. Because I'm sure you were getting clients with that website either way. Like, you had a great business, but it was just a matter of your brand versus you kind of, I don't want to call it a bait and switch, but I can only imagine if somebody booked you on that website and then got on a call with you and you being like, what's up? Like,
But you know what's
What do you say?
interesting is when I do think back to this, and I've been kind of trying to like, I'm sure similar to when somebody says to you, like, mentor me, like I'm a new copywriter, like show me a way. And you're like, okay, it's not going to be what you've been taught.
Yeah.
That when I was willing to let go of that BS facade of what I thought I needed to be, and I started to step into my truth, my vision, what I saw messed up in the world, what had happened to me, and like shared it in a way that was okay for my vulnerability, meaning everyone's different. That is when money really started coming in. That was the difference between that year of like 27K and kind of being like, can I really afford this? Like, to holy crap. Like, I now not only feel confident, but like I'm jamming all over with this concise message.
Yeah.
So that fed into everything. And I think that's what coaches don't get. It's like when you're an entrepreneur, like your home, what you say at the restaurant, what you say at the grocery store, who you're riffing with, who you're talking to, there is no separation. Like you are your walking brand. So if you're like, similar to that video, I think on IG where they're like, oh my God, love a smoothie bowl. And then the girl takes the picture and then she's like chomping on all this junk. I was like, that is the most brilliant video I've seen. That's why I always say, guys, it's not just a smoothie bowl. Like, share life. Share. So talk to us like from that kind of like, okay, I helped you to see your brand.
Yeah.
And then like, what is that next part? Because everyone's like, I'm nailing down my niche. I'm like, no, that's not just it.
Yeah.
That's like, it's not just all of it. It's what is the message that's attached to that? What is your overall brand? So kind of like, even let's go so basic and then let's blow the socks off of like stuff that nobody talks about and all, and like what it also takes to dive into that emotionally.
Yeah. Oh God, so true. Well, I think at the basis form, so the biggest thing I tell a lot of business owners when they're not just wellness professionals, but everyone I meet is when they're like, I'm about to start a rebrand. Do I want to do this? I want to do that. Like, where do I start? And I ask them, what do you want to be for in your industry? And what do you want to be against? And that doesn't necessarily mean being against something doesn't necessarily mean you have to be negative or angry, but taking a stand in terms of what you see working and what you don't see working not only works to sort of differentiate you in the market, but it builds huge trust between you and your target audience because you're willing to take that stand and willing to stand up for the things that you're feeling super nerdy about and for the things that you are less excited about or maybe a little pissed off by. And I think this is, as you were saying earlier, this isn't stuff that only comes up to you when you're like in deep writing about my brand meditation. It's everywhere. Your brand, who you are and your messaging, your point of view, your personal philosophy shows up every single day. And I actually have a free tool for this. And it's called the Statement Piece Framework, which is the first step of my rebrand Statement Piece Studio, but more about that later. Or on another episode, maybe. Coming soon. But so I sort of talk about the 3 statement piece scenarios because developing a point of view as a brand is all about noticing your existing ideas. It's about taking notice of the way you feel about things and the way you interpret things and the way you want to take a stand in your industry. So there are 3 what I call statement piece scenarios. This sort of stuff comes up where you're already talking about your unique point of view. And that is in client conversations, in conversations with your colleagues and business besties, and in the conversations you have with yourself. And I always tell them to think about it in those terms. When you're talking with a client, what sets off your I want to be for this or I want to be against this alarms? Like, what's something a client could say that makes you like, yes, I want to have 1 million more of you? And what's something a client says that makes you want to say like, oh God, do we have to go through this again? Like, no, wrong, incorrect. Same thing when you're sitting across the table from a business bestie. What are you guys talking about in the industry? What are you really excited about? And wow, if this was wiped from the earth, I would not miss it. And then similarly in the conversations you have with yourself.
And I think the same really applies. Like, you know, I think what I see having a tough place for a lot of people is getting there. Like it's really like stuck at the wall. Remember you used to say to me, you were like, okay, you can just talk it, Rach. Like this is like, you taught me to teach all of my clients. I'm like, shoot a video, keep it unlisted, listen to yourself. Like no holds barred. Or get in the car and call somebody and have them record this. If you cannot hire a copywriter or somebody to work on your brand, because it's noticing like when you're seeing something on Facebook, when you're seeing something on IG, when something's being sold to you, how do you feel? It's like stepping into the shoes of your avatar, your many avatars, the people in your sphere, the people in the world, and also taking into account, which I believe is brand message and branding and everything, to be able to actually be like, dude, also what is happening in the world that is affecting people? Like I always sit there and I'm like, guys, election year is effed up. Like we all get into a mistrust. We all like start questioning, and that affects not only the digital market, that affects every industry. And so it's like in that year, what do you have to say for your message to be different?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, and let's bring it back to, I think a lot of people are probably listening to this and saying, yes, absolutely. But then when it comes time to show up that way, a lot of people are really hesitant. And I think, first of all, no one wants to make enemies, right? You don't want to stand up and say like, I really hate potatoes. Everyone who eats potatoes is an idiot. That's not the way you come at it. But having an opinion and having a clear point of view, again, does not necessarily mean being angry and combative. It can be as simple as, hey, so I've been thinking about this trend in the industry recently, and I'm not quite sure it's right. Here's what I'm thinking. Share what's on your mind, and then say, anyone else? What do you guys think? So that way you, one, share your unique point of view without being combative. Two, invite people to engage with you and join the conversation. And three, make yourself memorable. Because the next time someone's scrolling by, thinks about that topic, they'll be like, oh, right, I remember someone else was having a conversation with this on Facebook a while ago.
Yeah.
And that's another core thing that makes, core element that makes branding so important, is it's what's going to make you memorable. Because you can play it safe, you can use all the best practices, industry terms, you can use the templates, which work, absolutely. But when you're ready to step out and be represented as truly individual in your industry, when you want to make waves and be a voice, you have to be willing to sort of step forward and take that risk. You have to sort of think to yourself, okay, not everybody is looking at me. If I frustrate anybody, that's fine. But I have to step forward, because not only do I want to share value and my truth with the world, but I also want to be memorable to the people who need me. That way, when they're ready for me, they can come find me.
I mean, even when you were just saying about templates, because this was a year of me being like, take a page out of your own book, Rach. Like lessen the load. Like,
yeah.
And so when I think about templates, like you have templates, you teach people how to infuse their vision message into that. I mean, shit, I write done for you content left and right because people don't have time. But where I see stuff go wrong, launches and all different. I mean, like solo entrepreneur launch or like full team launch is when like that voice and what you said, that clear, like this is what has been not working. And this is what I know worked for me or my client or my mama that I helped or like whatever it is, you know, because when I think back to even some of my best converting emails, it was one that I remember like my probiotic stopped working, find out what happened. Yeah. Because, and boom, 7 clients from one email because I forgot to rotate my damn probiotics. But it wasn't.
Yeah, it's that honesty.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to tell you the 5 probiotics that are the best. It was like, wow, I screwed up. Like, this is what happens to the best of us. Life is busy. And then sharing like that story, which, you know, what you taught me, like the storytelling infused with the brand, infused with what comes out of your mouth. Like, what do you really want to say?
Yeah.
And just like you said, like, not be scared. I mean, I know for a lot of people listening, they're probably like, okay, well, what step do I do first? And I always think, just like you said, like start writing, start actually asking yourself these questions, or even ask someone else, how do you view me? What do you think I stand for?
Yep, absolutely. And that's an exercise, by the way, for everyone listening. This is an exercise called the messaging microscope exercise. I think I worked on for you years ago. And it's actually just a series of questions. I may actually have it I don't know if you want to offer it as a bonus or anything.
Oh, yeah.
But I have it somewhere. It's now in Word bonus, so I'll just take a screenshot and share it with you guys and have the PDF. But it really is about sitting down to talk through things with yourself and really thinking and listening deeply and taking notice about not only ideas, but where they come from. So I know for you, when we were talking about spray in those early days, I was like, you were sort of said, burn the diet books, and the question, okay, why do you feel that way? What happened in your life and in your experience, in your experience that your target audience may share a lot of, which, if I recall correctly, was you going through a bunch of diets, trying a million things, having gut health issues, having all of these health problems, no matter how hard you tried to be healthy, and just sending yourself into this spiral of frustration and anger and everything you had going on. And now your brand is sort of helping people untangle themselves from that and realize that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to health. It's a journey that you have to be on, and you should be supported by the right people, because when you're supported by the right people, then you get where you want to go. Never one book, one program, one diet. And I think that's a really powerful story that resonates not only with people who need your support who are not coaches, but coaches as well, which made you an industry superstar in pretty record time, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I mean, because when I think back to that, and I always say this, I say in every webinar I do, I'm like, I'm sorry, David Wolf. I love you. I've met you. You're adorable. You're a great hugger. I was like, but, at the time where everyone was sharing David Wolf, because he was rising up at that time, and everyone was sharing so many different people who were talking health, I was doing the opposite. I was like, this is what's going down in my life. Like, my kids have massive, crazy allergies. And I was showing them that even though, and talking about it, even though I did all this intervention and I saw specialists and doctors and protocols and like 80,000 tests, 80,000 grand in on testing. And I'm of the fortunate, meaning like I'm of the fortunate that could afford to find different practitioners that, but most people aren't like that. And the truth is, there wasn't one thing that just nailed it. And that was my frustration, my sadness, my rage, my everything. And what fueled me to come out and be like, if you're dealing with this, don't just look for this one thing. And this is what I do. And here's my protocol for the day. And here's an FDA disclaimer saying that it's, but and that's where I feel like when I look at successful coaches, they've been like, okay, well, I studied 20 different things, but that's why I teach HIIT training right now. And that's why I teach this very simple, like 5 ingredients food. It's not just like, hey, I'm a keto coach. I'm a gut expert. I'm a this. It's like the majority of the world doesn't even know like what's going on. We live in a mystery, illness, autoimmune-ish world. And so it's being a connector. And that's what a great copywriter, a great messenger, a great brand can help see. Like, what dots do you connect? Because it's not just, I help people with clean eating to make them feel really good.
Yeah, you feel so good. Live your best life.
Amazing. I mean, I see it. I can write that copy in my sleep, and I'm not even a copywriter.
Yep, I hear you. I write it in my nightmares sometimes, so I understand.
Let's talk about the nightmare scenarios. And before we even go on, let's just even like recap, because you and I are fast talkers. Like, Billy meets girl from Florida, but really with a New York heart and lives in New York.
Brooklyn, baby. Yes, absolutely.
But let's kind of recap. Like, okay, if you feel completely stuck, and just like Gary Vee says, and you ain't making money because your shit may be broke, because the message isn't clear. You're not broke. The message is not helping people identify. That's all it comes down to.
Absolutely.
You're brilliant. but
Mm-hmm.
either there's the mindset work or the message work. Double M.
Yeah.
So why don't you give just a little like, okay, hey, if you're here on the recap, like, do the exercise I said early, and maybe just like you said, sit and do what?
Yeah, have the conversation with yourself too. So what we were talking about earlier also is helping you guys sort of identify your point of view, the way you want to come at things when you're having like overall conversations and sales conversations. But when it comes down to write copy, and I do what I call statement piece session consulting, where I'll sit down with entrepreneurs and sort of go through their messaging and figure out a really core concept to thread through a sales, core concept to thread through a sales page or their website or whatever it may be. And what I really encourage people to do is think about where their audience is and think about the problems they're having and think about the big promise that they want to offer. Yeah. What is the biggest pain point and what is the biggest promise and solution that they can offer that you can sort of thread through everything? In your case, when we were working on your website, you were working with people who had been through the same journey you had, where they felt so frustrated and angry and confused because they couldn't find that one thing. Even though they tried a million things, nothing was fully helping. They were not back to 100%. She's saying talking to them, pointing out the situation, the problem that they already knew about, which is that you keep chasing this cure. It's not out there. Here's what's going to work, and here's exactly how I can help you. So identifying the problem, the solution, and then the steps to get there, like life-changing for people.
I mean, and I think literally every copy that you wrote, because it's funny, I'm literally trying to take one of like your original, I just said it today. I was like, dude, I'm just going to use Hillary's original like template she wrote for me and bust the move for the next like launch.
Yeah.
Because it was like, you always said, no fluff, no BS. I'm here to tell you the truth. Jam on, come under my hood, find out what I do. And it's interesting because when we did your shred, the session this year, you were even like, what's different? Like, what has changed? What do you want to say? And it was the same message. It was like, burn the books, unlearn, stop. Like, there's like, blueprints are great blueprints, but you still have to sit back and go, what do I want to be known for? Like, what is missing in this world? And analyze that quarter to quarter, definitely year to year. And it doesn't mean it's a full rebrand. Like you said, it might just be, you just have to message differently and really step in and let go. And you and I were talking about this before we recorded, and we both said, damn, we should record this. Is that you got, like, I think the biggest thing and the hardest thing I know for me and what you taught me was to let go of the fear of what people were going to think of me when I came out. I love when you said, like, you don't have to have combative, and you gave perfect language. So guys, like, go back into this, listen to that perfect verbiage, because I mean, honestly, I got to work on that, because I see something and like the rage just goes.
I don't think you have to cool down. It's who you are. I don't think you necessarily have to temper yourself.
But there is this really beautiful flow that you just said of like, dude, I see this trend happening. And like, this is why I feel that doesn't work entirely. Let me break down some thoughts. That's a conversation starter.
Exactly.
That's a different way of, saying things. And so I really love that you talked about like both aspects, like me in the health industry and me in this. And the interesting thing is that neither really changed, but the work. And I want you to talk about this before we even jump in. I mean, I know we've gone into a bunch of different places, but who needs a five question template, guys?
Amen.
Hashtag no fun. Hashtag boring. Hashtag shut the podcast down.
Hashtag girl bye. Absolutely.
Hashtag never gonna convert. Is that talk about the mindset, because I know for me, this whole year, we had that session literally last year.
Yeah.
In the beginning. Like, and I was like, like sweating, because I was like, damn, okay, she gave me it. How am I going to really step into it? And I know for me, the whole shedding this year of like, okay, I've got to go back to like letting go of comparison. I've got to let go. I've got to also stop caring so I can care and show up. I have to like un-F myself in my brain and go back to all the things. So talk about when you have a client and you see that fear come up. What, is there stuff that you kind of help somebody with on that kind of
Absolutely.
combative, like, you're just giving me my message. You saw it, you brought it out of my soul. Can I speak it?
Yes. And I think the first thing in everybody's mind is the worst case scenario, because if you take a stand for something, your first instinct is that you're going to get a ton of pushback. The trolls are going to descend from the sky on little ropes and just tear you apart. And you're never going to be the same. Your reputation is going to be ruined. You will not have clients. Your business will tank. It's going to be a disaster all over like one Facebook post or blog post, right? So I always want to reassure people. And can I swear on this thing? Or
look, I mean, I'm like, I even asked my podcast guy, I was like, did they throw you off iTunes? I've got like a potty mouth.
I feel like I already swore twice, but I was like, I should ask. But one of my favorite things to say is, and I don't want to downplay the stress, but it's really like, shit ain't that serious, especially at first, especially when you're just starting to build that messaging. If you already have an audience, that's fabulous. But I want you to remember that being honest and coming to the world, like all great messaging comes from an honest and true place based on your experience. If you have that experience, that honesty, that knowledge, that expertise to back up your point of view, which and before you say, oh no, my imposter syndrome, you have that experience. If you are already coaching people and working with people, I want you to put imposter syndrome to the side if you can, or instead of letting your imposter syndrome say you're a fake, let it whisper to you, the scam is working. Because whatever you have to do, I just stole that from a tweet I posted today and it's friggin' genius.
Oh my God.
But I think, it's really a muscle that you build, and being willing to take a stand and step out there and have an opinion and be a voice in your industry takes practice. And the first time it's going to be very scary. And then it's going to be a little less scary and a little less scary. And then there's going to be another topic that you have a hot take on, that you have something, then you're seeing everybody go left and you're like, guys, we need to be going right.
Like,
exactly. Where's everybody going? As you really have to think about it from a place of delivering value and walking your talk. Because as you say, when you're thinking about story, when you're sharing that my probiotics stopped working email, why that works is because people aren't necessarily interested on being preached to from a mountaintop. They want to know that you're in the trenches with them.
God, girl.
The things you're feeling, experiencing the things they're experiencing, and seeing that honesty, seeing that like, here's what happened to me today. And I was like, man, you know what? Like, I don't agree with this. This happened with a client and I love this. And I'm going to be super nerdy about it. So I'm going to tell everybody about it because, having an opinion can be positive too. But I think that's just thinking about taking a stand like that from a place of delivering value and honesty and truth, as opposed to a place of just being mean or combative or negative just to get attention. Totally different.
I love what you said, like, or even just preaching from the mountaintops. Like, here's the 8 foods that are great for your hormone health. It's like, okay, so tell me what was jacked about your hormones that got you to this place that made you have this epiphany, that you went to the doctors, you didn't get the right test, you even begged for them, then you came home, you were angry, you were upset, I felt this, like, bring me in.
Yeah, bring the story. Absolutely.
Just help me to identify with something where you're like, oh my God, I just went through that at my doctor's, or I just got this test and like I was told everything was right. Every one of my clients, they said every time, I have never heard somebody tell my story. Thank you so much. Whether it was a message, whether it was an email, a referral, under a YouTube video. And I always sit there and I'm like, okay, if you don't want to listen to me on what worked, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of other people doing that. You can still focus even on weight loss, but like, talk about then the pain. How hard is it? How do you feel defeated when you eat, or you're like, I'm craving this, or, talk about the feeling, because everyone has a weight loss plan. You can download one free off the goddamn internet.
Yeah.
What is going to set you apart?
And
absolutely. Make it about them. Like you said, what are the pains? What are they identifying? What is the promise?
Yeah. How are you going to get them where they're going to go? And why are you the one qualified to do it? Yeah.
And this is promise. PIP.
Exactly. Just piff it up. And I think another concern, and just to sort of address these worst case, these nightmare scenarios here, I think also, and this is something that I get, I'll share two scenarios that even I had to sit a copywriter down, a really good copywriter who's written for like Marvel and Disney and like was on the Star Wars marketing team. So this is in two parts. And the first part is people are afraid to overshare. And especially when they're talking about this stuff online, it's like, oh, my probiotic's not working. Are people going to want to know that? Yes. People, if you're working in the wellness space, people who follow you, especially because you do a partial focus on gut health and detoxing, they're going to want to know that. What they're not going to know is like you have a hole in your t-shirt, your favorite t-shirt today. You know, if that's not relevant. That is not relevant. Yeah, exactly. It might be.
Share the problem, but also share like how you solved it.
Exactly. Exactly. You always, every story you tell has to have it has to be valuable. It has to relate back to your target market. Like I wrote an article this week about training mode, basically allowing yourself to do things in practice mode in your business to build up your expertise and test everything. And in order to tell that story, I talked about playing Nintendo 64 with my cousins when I was 8 years old. Like that should not be a relevant story for a copywriter. That isn't necessarily like brand messaging strategist. Let's talk Nintendo 64. But it got a huge response because I was able to tell the story, tie it into an experience in the present day in my business, and lead it into a lesson that I continue to embody today.
And tie it into something valuable. That we all remember. Like
exactly.
Like we watch things like, shout out to my favorite, like Goldberg's. Like I went to school with the kid.
Mm-hmm.
On Adam Goldberg. And it's like, I don't know if there's been a show that takes the 80s and you're like, damn scrunchies, damn Pop-Tarts. Oh my God. You know, you're just like, damn, oh my God. You know, you're like, damn. And that's what it's like, sometimes it's just like you said, like, it's not even just about health and wellness. It's for somebody to go, oh my God. The moment they go, oh my God, they've identified with you.
And they're going to remember you.
Yeah, it doesn't have to
connected.
Be like, hold on wellness. Some people are like, you have to be a story.
Yeah.
And don't be scared to share like the little bloopers that go on, because every mom, if you're working with crazy busy moms, are like, I'm going to blow my brains out. I don't even know if I'm going to handle this. I may jump out of the first floor window. Can I even cook? No, I haven't eaten today. It's 4:00. You know, it's like every mom has the same, and they're like, I just want to be perfect. And then you're crying at the end of the night. Then you're binge eating with potato chips. And you're like, I suck. Like, tell the mom story. Like, and tell that, I don't know what mom doesn't go through it.
Yeah. And it helps people feel less alone. And it helps people feel that it helps you, no matter how big your audience is, as it grows into 500 people, 5,000 people, 50,000 people, 5 million people, telling stories like that about your life and about real experiences you've had, make people feel connected to you like a best friend. And that is that's not only a powerful thing in terms of building that connection and inviting customers, but it also helps you do more good. Because people trust you, they're ready they feel like they know you, and in a way they do. And that is the key part about a personal brand. Like, it has to be personal. But the other nightmare scenario, just to wind this up.
I was like, roll back. I totally interrupted you.
No.
The worst interrupter known to man. But
never apologize. I'm also an interrupter.
Like this. It's like, whoop, Matt, one. Okay, question. Too many tabs open in this game. Stop for one if you agree. Okay. So tell me the other nightmare scenario.
What is that joke? It's like, yes. What was that joke? It's like my brain was like my browser has 20 tabs open and I don't know where the music is coming from.
Yeah.
But so I was sitting down. So I ran a hot seat series a couple of months, or last month rather. And I had a copywriter join me who is awesome. Again, she's done work for all these big brands, and I got on her website, and I had a flashback to our experience together in 2013, because I was like, girl, who is this? Like, this is a website. This is not your website, because I know that you've done all this big stuff. You have all this talent and all these skills, and it's nowhere here. It's just very basic. Like, I help you write copy that converts. Like, yay.
Yeah,
exactly. And
I love you. I see you. I mean, I've seen it. Like, I look at a site and I'm like, I can't hire that person.
Yeah.
Like,
can't do it.
That's what you're saying, is that you have to look and be like, boom, I just got hit.
Yeah.
I got hit so hard that I'm like, I will die if I don't hire you.
Yeah. And the problem was she didn't use anything to differentiate herself. She played it. It was a good website. It just wasn't her website. It was just generic copywriter website 101. And I asked her, I was like, why isn't any of your stuff here? Like, I know who you are. You are way sassier than this. You are way smarter and more colorful than this. You're way more skilled than this. Sort of what's going on. And you know what happened? She showed it to some people, not copywriters, by the way. She showed it to some people, some other writers, and they told her it sounded like she was bragging. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I will kill them. Like, no.
Well, and also, I mean, so I think that's the biggest thing, no matter what industry, and is I love, and I will always give shout outs to people I think just trump it and change the goddamn game. Like when Bushra came out and her sales pages were like, snap, case study, snap, Facebook shot, snap. And you were like reading, and then you had to be like, wow, I just scrolled to a page of just like Facebook snapshot. She's like, yeah, I helped this person. Yeah, I'm damn good. I own this. You're like,
yeah. Where's my wallet?
You're like, yeah. Girl, that's surprise. I mean, that's how I feel. Like same thing with Amy Porterfield. Like I looked at her page today and I was like, by the end, I was like, that post ain't so bad. You pulled me in.
Yeah.
You did it. You showed that you've helped people. It's not branding to be like, I helped X company to do this, you know? And I think that's where we get scared. Like, but you know what? If somebody just comes and they see that you haven't impacted X, Y, Z or helped, where are they going to be?
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And I think people outside marketing will be like, it sounds like you're bragging because they don't know what they're talking about. Like,
well,
that's
and they
the
also don't know actually. See, this is what I loved what you said earlier. And I always say to coaches, if you're stuck, I want you to analyze, because I analyze myself like a mofo. I said, I want you to analyze your behaviors for a month. Where are you going to Google Plus? Or, I mean, do you Google? Do you go to YouTube to find things? Do you go to Pinterest? Like throw out the junk that ain't converting, because at the end of the day, if you're not converting, guess what? You ain't changing lives.
That's so important too.
I mean, no matter what industry. Yeah. So it's like, check your own behaviors. Like, what calls to you? Because in a way, you are your avatar. That's exactly what you were saying. Like the client that you're like, when you said that, I was like, well, yeah, because you had a message there that promised that person who you are not really like. I always tell people, I am not a step-by-stepper. You see how my brain rolls. It's like, so if you need that, it's okay. I will tell you 5 other coaches to go follow. But I will show you how to pivot in your goddamn business in a way that other people don't. And they sell you this one-stop solution that ain't going to work, because if you want longevity and not to be a goddamn one-hit wonder, because that's easy.
Yeah.
Like, you want the record player to keep going and be like, damn, she just hit number 1.
Yeah.
Damn, she's on number 2. You know, you want longevity, and pivoting in this industry, online or offline, is about that ability to be like, what are the behaviors of me? What am I doing? Because that's my ideal client.
Absolutely. And I think to your point, and this is something I talk about when I talk about branding too, is a lot of people feel like they need to be everywhere when it comes to their branding and telling their story. But really the only place you need to be is where your audience is hanging out. And whether that's on your email list, whether that's on Facebook or LinkedIn, maybe it's Pinterest, but sort of focusing on when you're building your story and trying to have these conversations, just one platform at a time, keep it really simple, and just think about what stories you want to tell and what's going to make you excited to show up every single day. And I think that's another core piece of this personal brand building that people forget about, is that they get so stuck in the templates and the best practices and the direct response and the conversion copywriting hacks and the growth hacking, that they forget to have fun and be energized. They forget that when they're sharing a funny story that happened to them and relating it to work, or even just sharing a silly anecdote that's totally unrelated, but talks about them as a person. Like there's so much value there. And they're going to be excited to show up every day and continue to build that momentum, because they're not sitting in front of their Facebook going, okay, like scheduling all these in buffer 10 weeks in advance. And then how do I make sure I have all these? Have I shared enough inspirational quotes? Like all this stuff you've got going on that's not necessarily building a rapport. Whereas sharing those stories, sharing those real experiences, being yourself, taking a stand, figuring out what you're for and against is what's going to make it way easier and way more exciting and way more fun to show up every day.
And also, and then we're going to have your like coaches, wellness peeps, whoever, life coaches, whatever, you know, in the wellness, is that it doesn't set you apart.
Yeah.
It doesn't set you apart. I always say, you know what, if you're scared to show up in a live and you're scared to do a workshop, or you're scared to talk to somebody about what you do in the grocery store, like quit. Seriously.
Yeah.
Quit now. If you're ready to put on your big girl panties and your big boy boxers, like get out there. Take a goddamn chance. And stop thinking it's just about you, because you are telling a story. See, this is what you said about the copywriter. You are telling a story, but it's also about what does that person need to see or hear to hire you.
100%.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
and it's always going to be different too. Like in terms of not going to be different. It's going to be different audience to audience. And as you were saying too.
Buyer avatars, everything.
Yeah. And also, as you were saying earlier in the call, like talking about taking time to reassess where your business is at, what's shifting, who do you want to work with, because you evolve. Your business evolves just the way you do. Your brand story evolves too. Like you are not the same person you were a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. And just like that, your business and brand story in many ways evolves as well. Sometimes you want to sort of talk about different things. Sometimes you want to be speaking to maybe you want to be speaking to a different audience now. I know in my business, going from, I was like just exclusively a copywriter and ghostwriter. And then more now I've been coaching and blogging and working on thought leadership. I have a really silly talk show called Ham Ya now, and just being willing, because I moved away from being exclusively a service provider into wanting to talk to a wider audience. So I talk to entrepreneurs and business owners in the creative, self-help and lifestyle spheres and wellness spheres, but I also talk to fellow copywriters and marketers. And I want to talk about the experience of business and living in my expertise as opposed to just my expertise. And that has been able to sort of build and expand my audience exponentially, because I'm not just a robot talking about how to optimize your sales page. I'm talking about what the experience of being an entrepreneur is, what the experience of being a creative is, what my process looks like, all where it comes from, like who I was as a kid and what it turned me into now, and all of this, and how you can reflect on the same thing. All of it's valuable, and all of it gives people a reason to pay attention to you, remember you, and grow to like you, feel connected to you, so that when it comes time to make that offer, they already trust you and they're ready to buy.
Oh, dude. I mean, I all of a sudden was like, okay, I want to ask a question. And I'm like, that time is out. I'm going to have to bring her back to tell her how she became a copywriter, because that's one of my favorite stories.
Oh, man.
I know. I'm like old school back in the day. But what I want to just also recap for coaches is that, like, what I also heard continually through this, because I've seen so many entrepreneurs like quit. They quit before the magic happens. They quit when it doesn't work for them. They quit when it doesn't feel right. And what you kept saying over and over is like, have fun with it. Like, then if it's not working, like take that time to really see what's not working instead of jumping and doing FOMO. I'm like jumping to the next thing, thinking it's a miracle cure, jumping to this, like just stop, like really take it in, like be your avatar, like take the time to just, to humanize.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So you are just freaking unbelievable. Tell everyone, because I think you've given more like do this, truth bombs, everything. I don't even think I need to be like, Hillary, can you give like a one takeaway that we think everyone needs? I don't talk that way anyway, guys. Y'all know me. And the fact that I say y'all now, because I'm a straight up Philly, like ghetto.
You're a Florida girl too.
Live in the South, so I don't know what's happening. That's
y'all is a great word. It's one of my favorites, but I hear you.
Y'all is great. I just feel like, you know what? I had a client say y'all yesterday, and I was like, damn, I love you. I was like, say that again. She's like, y'all. And I'm like, that's it. Okay.
Yes.
So tell everyone where they can find you.
Yes, absolutely. You can find me all over the internet. But right now you can stop by and actually grab my statement piece framework that I mentioned earlier in the call. If you want to start digging into your own opinions, personal point of view, and philosophies, you can stop by www.hillaryweiss.com. That's HILLARYWEISS.com.
And on
Did you like my announcer voice?
Hillary will be doing our intro commercial on what we're being sponsored. Thank you.
Yes, I will. But no, you can also, I also teach copywriting over at thewordshops.org. That's wordshops with a D.org. But the workshop.
And on my side job.
But you can also watch my marketing
sexy,
show.
Sassy, funny, nerdy. I mean, I'm like, this is you. And I think that's
thank you.
the part that you always say, like, just own it all. Like really, and if you can't get there, like you gotta step back first. Because the ownership of self and all those parts that we're like, should I be this? Should I be? It's like, it's all of you, man. It's all of you. So
yeah. And if can I give them a tip? Even though you don't have to ask, can I give them the final tip anyway?
It's okay. Give them the final tip.
Let me give you the tip. Sorry, I'm really into this mic right now because the sound quality is so good. Anyway, no, one thing that I would challenge you, wonderful viewer, to do, and this is something that really helped me because often I find when I catch myself in comparison paralysis that I need to put myself on an information diet. So I unsubscribe from don't unsubscribe Rachel's newsletter because you don't want to miss more podcast episodes like this. But I would unsubscribe from the people in your industry who maybe be your heroes, but maybe stress you out to get a perfect blog post or a sales page or email from them and makes you feel like yours enough. What I challenge you is to do that for 30 days. Stop checking other people's stuff and just focus every day on writing something, whether it's 2 lines on Facebook, whether it's something journal in the morning, a paragraph, whether it's a full blog post. Just sit down and start putting your thoughts together. Shut out all the noise and take some time to figure out what makes you you and what makes you unique in your industry. I promise you won't regret it.
Dude, I think you gave me that homework because I used to be like, that's it.
I think I did too.
I'm not looking at anyone. I'm done. Like, and that's, I think for any industry, that's so vital.
Yeah.
Because then you're only really focusing on your heart and what you want.
Keep your eyes on your own paper. Absolutely.
Stay in your own goddamn lane.
Yeah.
So, all right, girl. Thank you so much, guys. Check Hillary out. I mean, there's so much information you will learn from her, and even just like follow her on Facebook, her voice and how she shares things, because it's people. And I have always said this, I didn't look at other coaches. I looked at like people in other industry, like what were they doing? How were the conversations that they were having? And I just felt, I didn't then feel that competitive, like thing. And it just inspires and evokes. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So, stay inspired.
Peace out, homie. Thank you.
This has been an absolute pleasure. Oh my God, let's do this again soon. And thank you all for watching. It has been an honor getting a chance to talk about this to all of you today with the amazing Rachel. And I can't wait to check out the rest of your episodes, girl. I'm going to binge.
So, all right, guys, stay tuned for the next unbelievable coming to you, no BS, no fluff podcast. But in the meantime, check this girl out. She is the bomb, and you will just be blown away. All right. Peace out, homies. Like I say, I will see you on the flip side.